block of land has measurements as shown below. Find the area and perimeter of the block, correct to the nearest whole number. So we've got some missing pieces of information here that we're going to need to fill in. But the first thing I'm going to do is draw a diagonal in here to split into two triangles. Now I know a fair bit in this triangle over here. So first of all, I can work out the area of that straight away. So if I call the area of that one A1 and this one I'll call A2, I can say that A1 is a half times 74 times 83 times sine 65 degrees. And I'm going to calculate that. So 0.5 multiplied by 74 multiplied by 83 multiplied by the sine of 65, and that gives me 2783.27, and that would be in meters squared. Now it would be useful to have the length of this side, and we can use the information in this left-hand triangle to do that using the cosine rule. So we can say that x squared would be equal to 74 squared plus 83 squared. Take away 2 multiplied by 74 multiplied by 83 multiplied by cos 65 degrees. So again, calculate that. 74 squared add 83 squared, take away 2 times 74 times 83 times the cosine of 65. Let's just make sure we've typed that in correctly. 74 squared, 83 squared, 2 times 74 times 83 times cos 65. That all looks good. So that gives me 7173.55 and so on. And x would be the square root of that. Square root of my last answer, which would be 84.6968 and so on. So now that we know that, it's possible to work out this angle down here using the sine rule. So I'm going to call this one x now, and we know this one, remember. So sine x over 65, which is the side opposite, would be equal to sine 80 over the side opposite, which is what we just worked out. So that's 84.6968 and so on. So that's going to enable me to work that one out. So let's do it by solving. So we've got sine x I probably should have used a different letter here to what I used there because it's confusing with the x's, but let's not worry about that at the moment. So that's over 65 is equal to sine 80 over, and we can just drag this in to there. And we know that we're in a triangle, so we can solve for x between 0 and 180. And we've got 130.9. Well, we can't have that with the 80 as well. That will be more than 180. So it's got to be the 49.0938. So 49 point, let's just call it 09. We're getting near to the end of our calculation, so we maybe don't need to keep so much, and we can always drag it from here if we need it. So this is 49.09. And then, of course, we can get the third angle here, because we know that that's just going to be 180 take away, let's call this angle up here, let's call it y for the moment. And then y is going to be 180 take away 49.09, take away the 80 we knew to start with. So take away 49.09, take away 80, and that's 50.91. So that now means we can work out this side just here. So let's call that Z or something. And using the sine rule, Z over sine 50.91 would be equal to, we could use either of the other sides, it really doesn't matter. We could use the 84.6968 and so on, which was this side just here, divided by the sine of 80. So Z's going to be, I'm just going to calculate this, so it's going to be that 84 multiplied by sine of 50.91, and then we'll divide the result of that by sine 80. And that gives me 66.75. So this side here is 66.75 meters. We can now calculate area 2. That's going to be a half times 65 times 66.75 times sine 80. So we can calculate that. So 0.5 times 65 times 66.75 times the sine of 80. So 2136.42 meters squared. And that, of course, means that we now have the total area, because that would be equal to A1 plus A2. So that's 2783.27 added to 2136.42. So I'm going to give that as 4919.7, going to 1 decimal place, as the other two are to 2 decimal places, and I've rounded those, so this should be accurate to 1 decimal place. And then the perimeter is just going to be all of the sides added up. So we were given 3 of them to start with, and then we calculated this one. So that's going to be 83, add 74, add 65, add the 66.75. So 83, add 74, add 65, add 66.75, and that gives me 288.75 meters.